Psalm 13, a short psalm, 6 verses. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. And my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. A little over 3 weeks ago, there was a group of us from Gloria Day that did some hiking in the Black Hills. Little Devil's Tower one day, Harney Peak the next day, Crazy Horse the next. As we gathered at the trailhead for Little Devil's Tower, we knew that we were facing about a 1.3-mile hike. And as the hike starts out, it really goes, pretty smooth. There's some ups and downs, but then that last probably, a couple hundred yards or so, you're climbing between two wedges of rocks, or a wedge of rocks, and your feet are on kind of this narrow trail, but your hands are kind of helping you go up this way as you brace yourself on both sides of the rocks. Well, everybody going on the hike was there willingly. We hadn't dragged anybody kicking and screaming to join us, but they were there willingly, and they were having a good time, looking forward to it. We were about 50 feet from our cars starting the hike, and I just couldn't resist. So I bellowed out, "Are we there yet?" Their response was a little more active than yours. Some of them laughed out loud, and some of them just kind of, "Oh, I don't believe he said that." When have you last heard the words, "Are we there yet?" And what was the tone of voice? I can imagine at least a couple different tones of voice for it. If it's been a long trip and you're cooped up in the back of the car and you're wondering, are we ever going to get there? It'll be the sense of, "Are we there yet?" But if you sense that you're almost there, it may be a bit more like, "Are we there yet?" The psalmist picks up on that kind of mood, attitude a little bit in asking that question, how long? I was asking the question, how long before we're at the end of our hike? The psalmist is asking the question, how long is all of this stuff going to go on? The psalmist is not at all pleased with the situation in his life. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? Come on, God. Are you experiencing some divine amnesia? What's going on? Will you forget me forever? How long are you going to hide your face from me? Let me see you, God. Things are so dark, so bleary. I want to see you. How long are you going to hide your face from me? How long do I have to put up and bear this pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? And how long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Okay, psalmist. Okay, psalmist, we get the message. You are waiting for something to end. How long, how long, how long, how long? 4 times you've asked the question in the first 2 verses. 4 times in the first 2 verses. There is that longing in the psalmist's heart for the circumstances that he is involved in to somehow or another come to an end. He's not enjoying himself at all. He simply wants it to come to an end. Maybe something like a concert? How long is this concert going to take? Or a dentist appointment? How long do I have to sit in this chair with my mouth wide open? Or the possibility of cleaning house, just how long do you think it's going to take to clean up this mess? Or maybe, how long before this worship service is over? The only thing is that the psalmist is in agony. He's hurting. He's hurting immensely, and he's accusing God, questioning God. God, do you have some divine amnesia? How long will you forget me forever? Come on, God, how long? The psalmist makes his point. This is going on much too long for his sense of propriety. Something has to change. In verses 3 and 4, the psalmist shifts to prayer. But it's a prayer that's terse. It's almost demanding, and yet it's brief. Consider and answer me, O God. Come on, God, I've given you all of this information. Now answer me. Consider and answer me, O God. Give light to my eyes, or I'll sleep the sleep of death. And my enemy will say, I have prevailed, because my foes will rejoice that I'm shaken. Come on, God. Consider all of this that's going on and answer me. Break the silence. Recover from your divine amnesia. Don't let insult be added to injury. Don't let my enemies, my foes, somehow feel that they have conquered me as they see me going down, declining, eroding, and being miserable. Come on, God. Do something. The psalmist is searching for something very, very specific. He is searching. I can wander around the sanctuary just kind of aimlessly, not really doing anything specific. I could even change direction. There's no point to any of this right now. All I'm doing is wandering aimlessly. And you can tell it by my body language, what I'm doing. But if all of a sudden I shift and I'm doing this, then there seems to be a purpose. I'm searching for something. It's no longer aimless wandering, but rather I'm hunting. I'm searching. We can grumble and complain to God, but there isn't any more connection between grumbling and lamenting than there is between aimless wandering and searching. If all we do is complain, we're accomplishing nothing. Going to pick on you, Bob. That is just the gosh awfulest shirt I've ever seen. I don't know why you picked that out of your closet today. Why would somebody wear something like that? It's just plain awful. All I'm doing is complaining about your shirt. It's a nice shirt, by the way. All I'm doing is complaining about it. It accomplishes nothing. Our complaints to God accomplish nothing unless we live in trust and in hope that He is going to do something about our circumstances. To simply complain is to just simply say, we have no hope. But when we approach God in lament, when we approach God in trust and in faith, then there is that expectation and that trust that God will do something about the circumstances in our lives. Grumbling is to lament what aimless wandering is to a search. For as we come to God, we are searching. And that is exactly what the psalmist is doing in Psalm 13. The psalmist is searching. He's looking for a breath of life to be breathed back into him. He's looking for a sign of hope. He's looking for a sign of promise. He's looking for some way in which God, in whom he trusts, to recognize his circumstances and to respond in love, compassion, and in care. That psalm, even though it is so complaining, is a declaration of faith and trust. The psalmist is giving us a solid statement of faith. Think in terms of your own family, your own relationships. Have you been at the hospital with somebody, or have you had someone in your family who's been a patient who is just going through a long, agonizing illness or injury? It's not unusual at all for someone in that situation to be so frustrated, to be in such agony, that they will lash out even at the people they love. They may express anger, frustration. They may absolutely want something done but don't know what to ask for. How can someone lash out at us? Because they know they are loved. Because they know they are loved. And how can you receive someone lashing out at you? Because you know you love them. Sometimes bitter words are said in a hospital situation because of illness, because of catastrophe, because of disaster, because of circumstances. But we can and we do lash out at someone in love, knowing they will listen to us, knowing they care for us, and knowing that they have our best interests at heart. There's the relationship in this psalm between the psalmist David and God. David recognizes that God is someone he trusts and someone who loves him. And God in turn recognizes that this servant David is someone who loves him. There is that trust. And it comes through solidly in verses 5 and 6. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me. Psalm 13 begins with an absolute storm. How long, O Lord? How long? How long? How long? It begins with a storm. There's a storm in the life of the psalmist. Is there a storm in your life? What are the storms in your life? Storms not of thunder and rain or hail or lightning, but what are the storms in your soul? Are you pleased with what you're doing, or are you asking yourself, what am I doing? Why did I ever agree to this? How did I ever get hooked into this? Is the storm in your soul because you're doing something that you don't want to do and you don't know how to get out of it? Is the storm in your soul because of what you did to somebody else and you don't know how to apologize? You don't know how to ask forgiveness? Is that the storm that's just rocking your soul because you can't figure out what to do? Or is it the opposite? There's a storm in your life because someone who you thought you trusted has suddenly betrayed that trust, And now there's that storm of, can I trust him or her at all after what he or she has done to me? Is the storm in your soul because you sense that God has amnesia, that he has somehow forgotten that you are suffering in a job, suffering in a relationship, suffering in your health, or suffering just in your mental stability? What are the storms? What are the storms in your life that bring you to say with the psalmist, how long, O Lord? How long? Well, we have some choices we can make. We can grumble about all of those things happening in our lives. And we can just simply accept them as that's the way it is and that's the way it's always going to be. So I'll just stand here and complain about it. Or we can trust the one who loves us. We can approach him in faith. We can approach him in hope. We can approach him and say, "O Lord, I turn this over to you. And I trust you to respond. I rely on you to respond and lead me through this storm into smoother weather, better sailing, better relationships, stronger sense of your presence." And then we can say right along with the psalmist in verses 5 and 6, "I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." We can say all of those things because we know and trust that the one who loves us has loved us without limits and given his only Son. He is the one who recognizes the storms in our lives, and having heard us share with them, he has listened and then responded with the words of grace and mercy. And then we know it is well. It is well with my soul.